Thanks for everyone for joining today. I am Bruce Pinchbeck, and I'll be the host, basically just a shepherd of the conversation. I want to hear more from these folks here. I'm one of the co-founders of the New Tropic, and we publish a daily newsletter here in Miami. And if you aren't subscribed, you're missing out on a rundown of all Miami's news and events and other fun happenings. So check out thenewtropic.com and subscribe. Hopefully you're already getting that. Now, to jump into things, we're here to chat about the Wynwood neighborhood of Miami. If that wasn't obvious. And just like all of the other neighborhoods in South Florida and across the world, Wynwood's businesses have had to pivot in big ways in 2020. We're going to dig a little deeper and hear about that, the lessons they've learned, and what changes are taking place in 2021 and beyond. Today, we're excited to hear about the heads of a few organizations. So let me introduce them. We've got Sven Vogtland, co-founder of Coyo Taco and 1-800-Lucky. I'm sure you've frequented his establishments. Jessica Goldman Srebnick, the CEO of Goldman Properties and CEO founder of Goldman Global Arts, who are the curators of the Wynwood Walls, which I am sure you have seen, and if not, shame on you. Now, and lastly, we have Albert Garcia, the chairman of Wynwood BID. So to kick things off, my first question is going to be to Albert, and then we're going to open this up to dialogue. Panelists, feel free to jump in as we go, and then I'll make sure we just keep moving. So Albert, the first question, if I haven't been to Wynwood since before the pandemic, what do I have to look forward to and what's different? What's been going on?
So just really quickly first, Bruce, on behalf of the community here in Wynwood, thank you for your continued partnership through these trying months over the last year. And of course, for putting this wonderful panel together for us today. So I'm Albert Garcia, the chairman of the Wynwood Business Improvement District. For those of you that don't know what the Wynwood BID is, we are an autonomous government agency that was created by the commercial property owners and business owners of the 50 city block Wynwood Arts District. And we were established back in 2013 to chart our own course and really be the custodians of our future. So as we kind of, move into this post-pandemic era, or as we like to say, I guess the transition of what we hope would be the worst half of it behind us, there's plenty of positive and phenomenal things to look forward to that we are already seeing now. And of course, lessons learned, which I know we're going to talk about in a little bit. For those of you that have not been to Wynwood in the last 6 or 8 months, there are cranes going up, construction continues. We have not stopped in continuing to welcome folks that want to live and work in this neighborhood, as well as dozens of new restaurants that have opened up, which is unbelievable considering the amount of economic disruption that the pandemic caused. We actually saw businesses opening up for the first time over the last couple of months. And with that, we're also seeing an explosion of street art. So as you can imagine, that's one of our favorite components of the neighborhood. It's really what has drawn millions and millions of folks to come out and visit us every year. And you could, imagine that with the ultimate form of expression, you're seeing lots of new voices coming into the fray that were, of course, rattled by the pandemic, and everything from political messaging to the future and hope and very positive, uplifting messaging, but all in the end, new art, which of course is anchored by our beloved Wynwood Walls, which reopened late last year in partnership between the BID and with Jessica's team at Goldman Properties, which we were so happy to be a part of that. And in a short period of time has welcomed tens of thousands of visitors. So I think the one thing people might be surprised to see if they were to come tomorrow to Wynwood is the amount of people that are walking through our sidewalks and patronizing our businesses. And I think largely it's because they consider the neighborhood to be safer than others because of the largely outdoor component and the seriousness by which our businesses have all taken this pandemic to provide everything from outdoor dining options to by appointment retail shopping and much more.
Thanks, Albert. And since you mentioned Jessica, we had a whole conversation about the Wynwood Walls and opening and that. But for folks who might not be aware, what's going on, what's been new, and what can people expect from what you're working on?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. And obviously, it's always nice to be amongst friends. 1-800-Lucky is my kid's favorite restaurant, which is really nice. And the BID for, Albert is really a pretty extraordinary ambassador for all of us, for all of our businesses, for our neighborhood on the local level, on the state level, on the national level. And I think that as a property owner, as a business owner, as a customer of the neighborhood, I think people don't truly appreciate what it takes to really create a thriving destination. And our family has been in this business for over 50 years. We've been doing this in other cities around the world, and in Soho in the 1970s, and Miami Beach in the 80s, and Center City, Philadelphia, Wall Street. And Wynwood is really pretty extraordinary as far as like a case study and a story. And I think that and I'm happy to share what's happening at the Wynwood Walls, but I think that I think as a community, as a country, as a globe, we've all gone through something pretty catastrophic, extraordinary, you name the feeling, everybody has had it. And I think it's really given us a pretty incredible opportunity to reset. And that's what we did at the Wynwood Walls. We really looked at what the pain points were over the past 10 years of operations, how we wanted to be better, how we wanted to engage further with the customer, with the visitor, how we wanted to support the artists even further, expand our horizons of the types of art that we're bringing. And just to be really clear, the reason we came to this neighborhood was because there was an incredible amount of art already there. And so, I see that, there are a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts about the neighborhood and where it's going, and the ideas of gentrification and things like that. And that's always going to be a part of the conversation when you're talking about revitalization of a neighborhood. But I think what we've tried to do is take into account the importance of safety and security and health of our visitors and our staff and and our neighborhood. And so we've gone to a timed and ticketed model. And so it is, we are diving deep into additional programming, unlike you've ever seen. We're diving deep into the virtual components. So we have an app where you can learn more, not just about the Wynwood Walls, but about the entire Wynwood neighborhood. So I think that what you're going to see is a progression of my hope, further excellence moving forward, and lots of creativity and art and hope, which is really what the core of what we're all about.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. Now, Sven, I feel like there's probably some obvious things that happened for that change, but what can people expect from what you're working on?
Sure. I actually have a lot of new projects working on in Wynwood. One of the largest concert and food venues to come to Miami, opening on North Miami Ave shortly, called the Oasis. We have some really cool stuff about to happen there. 1-800-Lucky and Coyo Taco have really pivoted through this hard time and have carried through. And we're looking forward to the future, and we're looking forward to getting back to programming some great events and getting everybody back together in those spaces. And also looking at, also have another property on Fifth Avenue that I'm doing a really cool listening bar where people can come and hear great music, have a great cocktail. It's not a nightclub, just something that I think Miami needs for the culture. So we're continuing to grow, and we're continuing to open and believe in our neighborhood, Wynwood, that we've all fallen in love with, and looking forward to a positive future.
That's awesome. I am just learning that now in this conversation. I am very excited about that, since I think we saw a decrease in live music venues even before the pandemic. And I think there's just this resounding, like, what's going to happen to this whole community if the venues start to close. So that's awesome.
Yeah, well, the beauty is it's outdoor, and I think that's a pivot for gathering and what sticks in the future after this pandemic. And I think people will be more comfortable being outdoors. So we're very fortunate to have a very big outdoor space that we can produce, comedy shows, talks, live music, and also great culinary and food events. And being safe and being outdoors, we think people will be comfortable that way.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So
can I just,
yeah,
I noticed something in the chat, and I would love to kind of respond to it. And I think it's Alessandro had asked, where will street art go when developers build out the whole neighborhood? And I know we're not yet into questions yet, but I see that he's being very active. And so I want to just kind of address it like right there. And so, I appreciate what he's saying, and I appreciate the kind of the comments, and I'm trying, in 2021, I'm trying to look at criticism as a gift and as an opportunity and not as something that's a bad thing. And I'm trying to really embrace the idea of we all have very different opinions, and it's really okay to have different opinions, and it's okay to kind of engage in conversation. And so to answer the question about street art, I think street art has a beautiful, beautiful opportunity, and has over the last 10 years in a way we have never seen before because of the platform that we created with the Wynwood Walls and the Wynwood neighborhood. We have put street art on the map in a big, big, beautiful way. And I think that developers understand that if they are coming to our neighborhood, they have to integrate art in a very meaningful way. And the even better part, the beautiful part of that, is that it is spread to other cities around the world. And so artists are being appreciated in a way they have never been appreciated before. They are being asked to do jobs they have never been asked to before. There are opportunities across the board. And so even though change is hard and change is not, change is challenging, change can also be a really, really good thing. And we're not always going to get it right, and we're not always perfect, but we will always, at least my company, and at least, me personally, I will always make every effort to do my best to, to do the right thing, to be authentic, to engage and embrace everybody. And I think, if you look at what we've done as a and the things that we've done, the projects, the artistic projects that we've done, it's only to support the arts. So I hope I answered your question, Alessandro.
And actually, I want to just tag team with Jessica, who was so eloquent in saying what she did about receiving differences of opinion and questions and comments. But to the root of the comment, something that we hear often. So I think it's important, to really address it up front, which is as the neighborhood continues to evolve and grow, will it lose itself? And I think you have to really, step back and realize that we've laid out this vision for the neighborhood over 10, 15 years ago. I mean, really 20 years ago. And I speak firsthand, my family's roots in this neighborhood as a commercial property owner go back over 50 years. I mean, before I was born. I literally grew up working in the warehouses when this neighborhood was a garment district, and then saw it, sadly go into its demise, where it was literally rampant vacancy and abandonment and crime. And you couldn't even get a phone call return from the police department or the city of Miami when a light post bulb was out for months. People just were not interested in caring for this neighborhood. And when Tony Goldman came and others with a bold vision, we were just thirsty for hope. And we got it. And we all banded together. And that's why we created the Wynwood Business Improvement District, to really codify that vision and make sure that as we started to develop and grow, which we always set out to do, going back to the early parts of the last decade, we did it in a responsible manner, that we never lost sight of our artistic and our industrial roots. So what Jessica alluded to is actually codified, and the law, by the way. And we have a Wynwood Design Review Committee that consists of local artists and professionals in the design community that have to vet every single project that comes through the neighborhood, whether it's a single story or an 8-story building or a 12-story building, to make sure that that does not get lost in the growth. And I think it's personified eloquently and beautifully by the LMAC mural, which is right next to the Wynwood Walls, that's adorning Wynwood 25, which is the new multifamily project from Related. Think of that platform that Jessica said that we've created and elevated, literally. Now you actually have an 8-story mural where none existed. One of the most beautiful installations in North America, might I say, in Wynwood, to complement everything below it and throughout the 50 city blocks. So listen, criticisms can come from all directions. And to Jessica's point earlier, we might not get it right, but we certainly are working incredibly hard, and we're very nimble and can move quite rapidly if we do have to make some mid-course corrections. But that's all really up to the community to work together to ensure that we get it right, not just now, but into the future.
I also do feel street art is alive and well in Wynwood. If you look at the new facade that we just changed out of 1-800 Lucky, was a great street artist from Chicago that just wanted to paint the front of our space. If you look at the back of Coyo Taco or our new space, the oasis. I feel street art is alive and well, and Wynwood is booming, and it's a place for artists from around the world know they can come and they have a space. Yeah.
So thank you all for that perspective. I'm glad we could talk about that head on. I know that's always been a thing when you have new community, like neighborhoods changing. And I haven't been around since the beginning of Wynwood. I'm a transplant, but I saw some of the early stages and seeing it change, and that you're always pining for something that has left. But it's really exciting also at the same time, how much awesome development is happening. And I think you will continue to see that kind of movement and shape and ebb and flow of city development.
Look, I walked the streets in 2005 in Wynwood. You could roll a bowling ball down the center of the street, literally. There was nobody walking the streets. There was no business. There was no, like, it was manufacturing, you know, businesses that were struggling to stay alive, to even pay the rents there, because the business had gone overseas. And so, you know, I think that change is, you know, the idea of change is to create industry, to create jobs, to create opportunity, so that people can, you know, do all kinds of things like send their kids to college, or put food on the table. I mean, those are all a part of change. And, you know, and sure, it's not the way it used to be. And I don't think anything is ever going to be the way it used to be after we have come out of 2020. And I think that, you know, if you look at 2020 as a real moment of reflection, honest reflection about what worked and what didn't work, and what do you want to spend your time doing? Who do you want to spend your time with? What kind of projects do you want to be doing? Like, that's what 2021 is all about. 2020 was the year of reflection and pain and suffering. And 2021 is going to be the year of the decision. And you're seeing that with people making decisions to come live in Miami, making decisions to move their businesses to Miami. You know, I mean, those are all growing pains. Those are all good things. And we happen to have a city that is, you know, a beautiful, vibrant city that is almost like a petri dish of experimenting. And I think that we can be an incredible example around the world of, you know, of a vibrant kind of look to the future kind of community.
Well, speaking of the future, I love visioning. It's just like my favorite part of my job, and like, where are we going? And let's talk about that. What's the big, bold vision? What's coming up over the next year for the neighborhood? What can we look forward to? Give me some like bright spots that I can put on and get ready to go. And then also throw me a little farther into the future. Give me the 5-year. What are we looking at? Albert, you look like you're ready to jump at this.
I love the future. I love visioning. That's what we do at the BID, amongst many other things. In the short term, you're going to continue to see more of what you love of the neighborhood. Dynamic eateries, one-of-a-kind retailers. You're also going to see players from outside that are coming into the market for the first time in the country, offering something special and choosing Wynwood to call their home as well. So that will continue. That's really hardwired into the fabric of the neighborhood. But, you know, through COVID, we were able to actually accelerate some of the plans that we were just really, quite frankly, just too busy with to really put a lot of power behind. And one of those is, how do we continue to improve on the pedestrian experience? We all know that Wynwood is one of the most walkable neighborhoods in the United States. That is really what draws people to the neighborhood. You park your car and you can spend hours upon hours walking and discovering new businesses and murals along the way, and people come back for more and more. So our sidewalks are narrow, our streets are narrow, and that's because this neighborhood was an industrial district for many decades. So it wasn't built for the types of businesses and even for the street art itself. But of course, those industrial facades is what gave way for those palettes and those canvases. So, you know, we've now looked at ways to be able to bring in more pedestrians safely, because they were spilling onto our streets, literally. And that's not fun. So we've been working with folks like Uber and Lyft and our partners at the city and at the county to create pedestrian safe havens for rideshare. So as the neighborhood starts to pick up again, you start to get more traffic and more cars coming in, you should see a dramatic improvement in the experience. There's still going to be some bottlenecking on 2nd Avenue. That's really our main, you know, spine of the neighborhood. But now there's parking garages, one of them being the Wynwood garage that Goldman Properties opened about a year and a half ago. And all of the new multifamily projects in the neighborhood also have parking garages. And that was keeping some people away. So I think now having a choice is something that's new. And we're also working towards improving our transit mobility options. I know the new Tropic really loves that topic in particular and have partnered with us previously on our efforts to bring commuter rail to Miami-Dade County. So I'm really happy to say that that is really right around the corner, and there's going to be a commuter rail station in the heart of Wynwood to service not just our community, but the surrounding communities in Edgewater and Midtown as well. And that's going to give locals as well as tourists an option whether or not they want to take rideshare or drive their own car. Now they can take rail to come and visit us. And those are the kind of things that are going to allow us to continue to welcome more people, make it safer for them, and continue to grow. And then I'll add one last thing about the future. It's very bright. It is really positive. And I really believe we're just literally in the first inning of what is going to be a very exciting, very just continuing this phenomenal story that is Wynwood for decades to come. And I think it's a privilege to be amongst friends here talking about that initial inning that we're all, I think, very fortunate to get to shape. But Wynwood will continue to evolve and continue to change, as does Miami, as does the world. And I think Wynwood is just ahead of the pack. And I think as Miami continues on its renaissance, you're going to see Wynwood leading the way.
Awesome. Thank you, Albert. Let's go out and make things now. Sven, you just lit up. What do you got going on? Can you tell me you gave us a little teaser about what's coming up, but
So, I mean, in my world, a great open venue, the Oasis, coming on North Miami Ave and 23rd Street. It is a mixed use space with 6 amazing restaurants, actually more than that, 8 amazing restaurants, yoga studios, and a live music venue outdoors that should house about 4,000 people outside. We plan on rivaling the Fillmore for a great space to come catch comedy shows, food festivals, guest speakers, and music. It's the home of the new Spotify offices for Latin and South America. We have about 200 plus employees from Latin and South America that'll be working on property. Really excited about that, working hard on that one right now to get open as quickly as possible in the next few months. And then a really cool spot on Fifth Avenue that we've partnered with some amazing famous musicians to create a listening lounge where you can come in and have 20,000 pieces of vinyl on the wall with a vintage high fidelity sound system where you can come with a date and still be able to go out on a Friday or Saturday night and don't have to go to a nightclub and get your brain blown out. Sit down, have a cocktail, listen to some great music, and hear, it may sound extreme, but I'm working hard on it, hear Quincy Jones talk about his time with Frank Sinatra, or hear another local celebrity talk about, hey, this is my favorite record. My mom used to play this jazz record for me. And it's a great place for storytelling and cultural preservation. And it's something that I think Miami needs. And then the growth of Coyo and 1-800-Lucky in Houston, and new Coils opening on Miami Beach, and also in this location in Wynwood, opening a second one there. Yeah.
Awesome. That is quite the teaser to this listening room.
Can I just say something?
Can I get tickets when that's happening?
Sure.
Yeah. Putting you on the spot.
Sven is the kind of business owner that, and there's many like him, by the way. And it really is a gift to get to collaborate with Sven. He's also a fellow board member at the Wynwood BID. But he launched his business in Wynwood and has used that as a catapult to grow into other markets. You heard him mention Houston. There's Coyo Taco in Paris, and other parts, in between, I'm sure, plus everything else that he has already mentioned. So, it goes back to Wynwood also being a laboratory of ideas. This is nothing new. This is really one of the things that we're also proud of. There's a big growing tech sector and a sense of entrepreneurship that, I think has been a part of the DNA of the neighborhood well before the arts district era that we're in now, going back to that garment district era back in the 50s and 60s that has stayed with the neighborhood. And I think will for the foreseeable future. Panther Coffee, Zach the Baker, the Salty Donut. You're seeing multiple examples in the food and beverage space where people come to Wynwood because they know that they'll be rewarded for innovating and for taking calculated risks. And they're rewarded for that. And then their growth, becomes a story, on the cover of Fast Company or Inc., where they get to scale. And they always point to Wynwood as being that place, that very unique place that's as welcoming to tourists as it is to business owners that are looking for a place to set up shop for the first time.
I'd love to touch on that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, jump in.
Coyo started in Wynwood, right on 2nd Avenue. It was 6 years a couple months ago. And when we opened the doors, we were just a little green, thinking, hey, maybe we can do 100 people a day, and that'll keep the lights on here. And it was open to a great success. And we've opened now 12 Coils around the world, from Paris to 2 in Lisbon to Porto, northern Portugal, 2 in Dominican Republic, 1 in Panama, Bordeaux is next. All through Wynwood. Everybody who we've partnered with in these foreign countries have came to our location in Wynwood. So to say that I'd be nothing without Wynwood is a bit of a understatement. I owe it all to the neighborhood that I love. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, that is initially what attracted me to Miami many years ago, is just this atmosphere of that. And then you just drill down even more, and Wynwood is like hyperdrive of that. Like, you're seeing this stuff happen in such incredible speeds, where people are popping up new ideas, exciting things, and like you said, like almost like a laboratory for like what cities can become. And I love that sentiment. Jessica, I think you wanted to jump in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm bursting like a proud mama, right? Like hearing I am, because I remember, when Coyo opened. I remember when Panther Coffee opened. I remember when Zach the Baker opened, and we are an incubator, and we are a place that people come to be inspired. And so whether you're in the food and beverage world, whether you're in the art world, whether you're in the real estate world, whatever it happens to be, and I think that that's a pretty incredible thing. You asked the question about where will we be in 5 years, if we could like kind of future cast and look to the future. And I think that I think there are a few things that I see. I see a really, really vibrant food and beverage destination, more so than ever. I think even during COVID, you've seen, Momo-san as an example. One of the, the chef is, world renowned. Super cool concept right on 26th Street. I think you're starting to see things. I mean, I know that we are bringing, a number of really extraordinary food and beverage operators to the neighborhood over the course of the next 12 months. I think you're going to see a lot more residential development happening. We will be doing a residential development project right in the heart of the neighborhood. I think you'll see a lot more office product. I think that people want to engage with the people that are, their employees want cool neighborhoods. They want to be able to walk in the neighborhood. They want to be able to go, sit and hang out outside. And so I think you're going to see a lot more companies coming to Wynwood. You've got 545 Wyn, which is a beautiful, beautiful Class A office space right in the heart of Wynwood. I think you're going to see more beautification as a result of the bid. I think you're going to see better mass transit, because we have really, really strongly, what's the word, Albert, that I would like to use? Advocated. There we go. Advocated for a mass transit station, a stop that, that enables people to come to Wynwood and walk. So I think there are a lot of different things that are happening, and we will, we'll always push the envelope when it comes to our, artistry. I think you're going to see, as the new buildings rise and we go from being a horizontal neighborhood to being more of a vertical neighborhood, but vertical where we're capped. You're not going to see 50-story buildings in Wynwood. That's not, we've self-monitored ourselves, and we've restricted the ability for our neighborhood to do that. So you're only seeing 8-story buildings, which is very, very pedestrian friendly. But I will tell you that I think that whatever we do see that's new construction will absolutely integrate first-class art and first-class architecture, across the board. So I think that there's a lot to be excited about and positive about. And again, not without our challenges, because, growing takes a huge amount of work and dedication. And, but we also have a a neighborhood of very like-minded people where the goal is excellence, where the goal is creativity, where the goal is customer service. So I think that's, from my perspective, I think that's what we're going to see in the neighborhood, and that's certainly what you're going to see from our company.
I love that. And I think this is my like little public shout out to y'all in Wynwood is I think there are instances when you see in the community an organization or leader is just not connected with what people are concerned about. And I think you guys are always on the pulse of what those issues are and complaints, and whether it's access to, you know, to the arts or walkability, transit, all of these things you guys are addressing head on. And I just want to like shout that out, because it's easy to just stay on a, you know, blinders and go down a certain path. So I really appreciate you guys diving into those things. But my own little question here, I'm seeing a little bit of chat. I'm going to try to distill this into one. And Albert, you touched upon this, but is there any plans or future for green spaces? I see something about shade. There's kind of that sort of thing as well.
Sure. Thanks for that, Bruce. So we just completed the Wynwood Streetscape Master Plan and tree plan for the neighborhood. It was ratified by the Miami City Commission late last year. And don't worry, we're not turning Wynwood into Coral Gables. I know people get nervous when they hear trees coming to Wynwood. We know that the grit and the industrial character of the neighborhood, again, is very front of mind for us. But we also understand the challenges with pedestrians, particularly families that are also trying to enjoy Wynwood and what it has to offer. And we have to strike a balance to ensure that there's pockets of shade to promote walkability, right? That's really one of the fundamental things that we all love about Wynwood and want to continue to see flourish. So I know Sven and Jessica and I, and many others, spent years really on this plan. And I think, struck the right balance. We hired an international firm to help us set the right tone. And you're going to see certain exotic trees, as well as ones that were native to this particular part of Miami, Wynwood in particular, that have long been extinct, and we're bringing them back. So there's a message of sustainability that comes with that as well. And you're going to see these trees framing murals, pointing to gateway entry areas, and again, to provide pockets of shade. And then also from a pedestrian standpoint, we're going to convert 3 streets in the neighborhood that currently offer 2 lanes of bidirectional traffic. And they're going to be consolidated into a single lane, one way. And all the extra road space that we just took is going to be reclaimed and given to the pedestrian. These are called woonerfs. It's a Dutch term. So we were definitely inspired by the Netherlands, by Amsterdam in particular, and the walkability of places like that. And again, because we don't have public parks in Wynwood, we have private parks like the Wynwood Walls and other areas, but we want to create public spaces that are open 24/7, both for tourists and soon to be residents and office users. So keep an eye out for those. Those are in the works. We're literally working on the designs and on the plans as we speak, and we hope to have those online over the next several years. One last thing I want to add, I saw a question about accessibility and affordability. The plan that I just mentioned that was approved at the end of last year also included new incentives for development of workforce and affordable housing in Wynwood. So we're very cognizant that as we continue to grow, we can easily displace a very important segment of what has made Wynwood so accessible, which is that it invites all walks of life. Literally, there's something here for everybody, from walkers to strollers and everything in between, as I commonly say. And that also applies to a place to live. So Wynwood is generally mostly multifamily apartments, studios, 1 bedrooms, on average, less expensive than living in Brickell or downtown or Miami Beach, but that's not good enough. So working with our partners at the county and at the state, there are now new incentives, brand new incentives, literally like only 2 weeks old, Bruce, that were put on the books to encourage the right type of balance. So we're going to bring in affordable workforce housing. A project was recently approved, our first one, late last year. It's going to be on North Miami Avenue. So if you know where Cush is, on the south quadrant, right next door. And that's going to be a phenomenal project. And you're going to see more of that. So we are committed, very much so, to continue to make sure this place remains accessible to everybody, not just those that can afford to live here or work here, but patronize and visit as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Albert. Now, there was a little bit of extra chatter in here too, just as you were answering about, I think I'm kind of generalizing here, but I think maybe some of the other types of services, I see grocery, pharmacy, medical, school, any work on progress on that you can give us?
So quickly, we have 2 new schools that have opened in the last 5 years in the neighborhood, charter schools. One is an arts charter school right next to where the Salty Donut is, if you know, on Northwest 23rd Street, between the Salty and 1-800-LUCKY. And, you know, we understand that if you want to build a community, you have to have schools. You definitely have to have a grocery store. There's a small bodega at 1-800-LUCKY, which I know Sven is proud of. But you're going to see the larger, you know, chains, probably like a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods, not coming into the core of the neighborhood, but coming into the surrounding areas between Midtown and Edgewater that will give people that want to live and work in Wynwood close proximity to, you know, large grocery stores as well. But yes, all that is in the works. And that is very much a part of master planning. You have to be able to provide all the different components to be able to have a sustainable community. We love Coyo Taco, but, you know, and all the eateries in the neighborhood, but, you know, there might be a night where folks might want to stay in and cook. So we have to make it hospitable for them as well. And then the same goes true to pharmacies, as well as urgent care facilities. Baptist Health Systems acquired a parcel of land just right outside our southeastern boundary, and they have ambitions to build an urgent care facility there as well. So again, as we continue to evolve, those are things that you're going to see more of, and they're going to be done in a very responsible, artistic, and industrial way. Again, going back to the character of the neighborhood not being lost. So they won't look like the ones that you drive past 50 times to get to Wynwood. I guarantee you that.
And that's a great example, really quick, Jessica. It's like, that's another good example. Like, you might not think that the Wynwood BID is thinking about all of these like issues, because it's like, hey, they do the street art. Like, you might put them in a bucket if you're not familiar with what they're doing. They are looking at the full holistic picture, but that's also because you all have been vocal and talked to them and send them notes, and definitely continue that dialogue as you have a chance to help develop a neighborhood, a community in the city, because they listen. So, you know,
no, 100%.
I wanted to add that. Yeah.
No, 100%. I mean, the Wynwood BID has open meetings where, you know, people have an opportunity to speak, to share ideas, to share their pain points. And so they really do listen. And, you know, and what Albert was saying before, and kind of what the question was alluding to is, you know, in our experience, and I've, you know, literally my whole life, I have been, you know, I've witnessed and participated in the development of a lot of neighborhoods and the growth of a lot of neighborhoods. And, you know, and first people, the comfort level is always, first people want to play in a neighborhood, then they are comfortable to work in the neighborhood. And then the last component is that they want to live in the neighborhood. And that takes time, right? That can take a decade. And so you don't need supermarkets and you don't need drugstores in a neighborhood when everybody is just going there to play. You know, you need those things when everyone's starting to live there. And so that's what we're slowly seeing. That's what you will see more of. And I think that the BID is incredibly, incredibly astute to paying attention to the idea, as are a lot of the developers. Those are going to be the services that will be required for, you know, for a vibrant 24/7 neighborhood where people are comfortable working, living, and playing. So I think you'll, you know, that's part of the 5-year plan.
Awesome. Thank you all. We're getting really into that, deep into the vision now. But maybe taking a step back for a moment, I would love to know from each of you, what was like the biggest pivot you had to make over the last year, and what's that initiative look like now? Because I know you're all working on different projects, things have happened. Let's just talk about, like, let's pick up one project that you worked on, or element of your business, I guess.
I'll start. I think mine might be the quickest. So our pivot, especially with Coyo Taco, was delivery. We really ramped up delivery through all of our Coyo Tacos through this time, through COVID and through the lockdown, and we became better at it. And it's a totally new revenue stream for us. We've learned how to operate our business much leaner than before. We were really fat and heavy up until COVID hit, and now we really understand what is necessary to run the business correctly and lean. And it's been a learning experience for us, and we definitely, a lot of things have stuck, and we're coming out of this much smarter, I think, and wiser.
Thanks, man. Someone says Coyo Taco has the best sound in the US. I don't know what that means. Sound?
I love sound, and I brought the sound system from Berlin. It's one of my dream sound systems called a Dynacord, and was in Berlin and heard it and purchased it and put it on a container and brought it to Wynwood. Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I need to get out of the house more, I guess. Listen to the sound system.
Let me know. Yep.
Jessica, we had a whole kind of event about, or dialogue about what you're working on, but can you tell people what was the biggest pivot you made?
There were a lot of big pivots. I think that the forced shutdown and being forced into remote working was a really, really big pivot. You had to adjust to literally a new way of communication, a new way of using technology, a new way of kind of determining what were the major priorities, what had to, what were the pain points and how could we solve for the pain points? What would, to Sven's point, what would stick and what would not stick moving forward? And really, really kind of taking a hard look at what the future looked like and what do we want to look like in 2021 and 22 and 23 and 24. And so, the remote working has, there have been a lot of great parts about remote working. There have been a lot of kind of challenges of, to mental health, to how do you create culture in an organization when people are not together. So I think it's given us a lot of food for thought. Obviously programmatically, the Wynwood Walls was a huge pivot point. It gave us an opportunity to kind of quietly reimagine what we wanted that to look like and be like in the future and how we could do better. But I think that, even just personally, like what was working for me and what wasn't working for me and what do I want to do differently, and I think it's certainly been a real kind of year of inflection, and we've pivot is pivot's like the word, right? We've had to pivot because when your house is on fire, you have to prioritize. You have no choice. And so now that the fires are subsiding, it takes a lot of courage to make big change when your house is not on fire. And so I think that now is kind of the opportunity to look to the horizons and decide, what do you want life to look like for you personally and professionally?
Can you share, we talked a little bit before, but can you share more, like some of the initiatives you're doing with the Wynwood Walls? There was some different artist programs and things like that you're working on.
Sure. We've gone to a timed and ticketed program. And so in our first month, which was sponsored by the Wynwood BID, we had 67,000 visitors to the Wynwood Walls in the midst of a pandemic, safely, spaced out. It almost feels like your own Wynwood Walls experience, because it used to be, I could have 2,000 people at the Wynwood Walls. I can't do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. And so now what we've done is, we have about 250 people per hour that come into the Wynwood Walls. It's a very different experience, and we've had to hire a lot more people. But the programming aspect, we're working with the Arts Center, we're working with the Miami City Ballet. We'll have a DJ on site. We'll have arts programming, arts classes. We'll have yoga classes. Things where it's really vibrant. I think one of the things that we recognize that when you came to the Wynwood Walls, it was a very one-way experience. You were going there, you were having your own experience, but there wasn't a lot of interaction back and forth. And we want to change that. We want, there are a lot more. We have experience managers on site answering questions, kind of giving you guidance to different things. And so we're also going to be doing artist grant programs. We're going to be doing, things that we're going to do the programming, the change of the murals. We're going to be doing them more frequently. Like we recognized, okay, well, Art Basel was always like the big art week in Miami. Well, Art Basel didn't happen this year, and with very good reason. And will they come back? Of course they will come back. Do we appreciate them for everything that they have done for us as a community? 1,000 times. But at the same time, we have art and culture 365 days a year, 7 days a week. And we don't have to just wait for Art Basel to do big, bold art programming. And so I think what we recognize is that we want to change over the murals a few times a year, so that there's always something new, but you can actually now be a part of the process. You can experience the process more, as opposed to kind of clumping it into 2 weeks of time. Now it'll happen in March, and it'll happen in June, and it'll happen in October. So, that for us, that was really exciting. And it brings artists here more often. So we'll have artist talks. We have, artist drops. We have a beautiful shop called the Wynwood Walls Shop, which has incredible product. I never thought that I would be in that business, but I love that business because we want people to be able to come there and have an opportunity, if they so choose, to be inspired and take something home with you that's $10 or $100 and everything in between, and then some. So I think that it's a new experience, and the app is a whole nother level.
Thank you, Jessica. So Albert, changing the question a little bit for you, because you already gave us a ton of awesome insight, like kind of what's been happening, the boots on the ground stuff. We had a question in the chat here I like, and it's kind of like we're crossing over big news stories, but I want to ask you a little bit more about this tech invasion, the VCs, the startups coming to Miami. What does that mean for Wynwood? What are you guys thinking about there with all of that buzz?
Yeah, so definitely in the news, and you'll continue to see and read more about it. If there was a silver lining, and I think there's a few now that I think we were able to appreciate, having endured COVID and the pandemic, is that it has accelerated trends that were already very much fermenting before we got into this new phase that we're in. And one of those was the evolution of Miami becoming a place that's not just solely dependent on tourism and being a connector to Latin America for the financial markets, but also as a place that can continue to grow, particularly in fintech or in just a straight tech in particular. One of the first co-working facilities in the state of Florida was in Wynwood, the lab, which is very much still open today, and a tenant of Goldman Properties, I should mention. But we also have seen an explosion in that sector over the last several years of places like WinCode, which has also grown and recently merged and is now part of a larger consortium of coders, right? So what that is telling the market is that not only are we grooming talent locally, but we're also open for companies that are looking to expand and relocate. And that walkability component of Wynwood really speaks closely to those in Silicon Valley, particularly folks like Google and Facebook and Twitter, et cetera, that have these campus-like environments that they're very much accustomed to having and become essential for the recruitment and the retainment of talent. So when you come to Miami, you can't really create a campus-like environment in downtown Brickell. It just doesn't work that way. So you might have companies that might be interested in being a part of that office culture, but then the ones that we're focusing on, again, the ones that have that clamor for the low rise, low density, kind of a mix of the vertical and the horizontal, Wynwood is very uniquely positioned for that. And that's not a coincidence. We've been working towards that for a long time. So we've been having numerous conversations. I've been pulled into calls with as little as 5 minutes notice, speaking to a CEO or a CFO or a CTO or somebody from the advanced team, kicking tires and looking for a place to bring 100 or 10,000 employees. I'll give you an example. Again, 545 Wynn, a project that Jessica mentioned, that is built by Sterling Bay. They're one of the larger developers in the country, headquartered in Chicago. And by the way, most of their tenants happen to be big tech firms like Google and Facebook. So we're bringing in skilled developers that understand what these types of companies need in their environments. And then coupled with what we've created here in Wynwood, I'm not going to be breaking any news today, but I think I would say stay tuned. There's a lot of truth to the hype that you're hearing in the media. And you're also seeing a lot of local companies that are growing as well, which is just as exciting. Companies like Chewy, that launched in Fort Lauderdale. And now they're scaled into, being like the Amazon of, pet food and pet needs, right? So there is a growing tech community. And I think these two things are converging. So Wynwood is uniquely positioned to I think, be the beneficiary of that, but more importantly, South Florida, because you've already seen companies like Blackstone that have announced that they're expanding into the Brightline station in downtown, and others that are looking at Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale and Boca. So all in all, I think this is just, again, the fast forwarding of what was already in store for Miami, and we're just going to see it happen a little sooner than we probably would have otherwise without the pandemic.
That's exciting. Thank you, Albert.
Can I also just add one thing to that? I mean, I think that the fact that we are the trend of technology was not, there were parts of it that were not so sticky, but I think that after this past year, I think that we're not going backwards, and the things that we have kind of embraced as far as technology will hold hard. And so I think that since we are, we like to pride ourselves on a community of innovation, it only seems right to have that kind of a hub, a technology hub. How we are situated in the world, geographically, it makes sense. I think that the fact that our city officials are out there promoting the fact that we are tech friendly, we want you here, we are going to provide incentives for you to be here. Like, all of those things are really important. And when I say that, it takes a village, it really does take a village. And it takes the private sector, the public sector, working together to kind of foresee what the vision is, but then you have to execute the vision, right? It's really easy to say, I want to be this way, but then you need people on the ground, doing the hard work. And I think that that's what, as a community, I think that's really where we shine, in doing the hard work. And I just think that our government officials have been pretty wonderful. Specifically, Mayor Suarez has been, pretty terrific about putting it out there that we are tech friendly and that we want those kinds of tenants and customers.
Awesome. Thank you all. So to take us home here with the last little bit, I want to know what you all would like the community to know. I know we talked a lot about all these initiatives, but if we could distill it down, to one ask for the viewers, to New Tropic readers, to all of Miami, what do you wish everyone knew going into 2021? Albert, you look ready.
I mean, I'm always ready, Bruce, but I'll just say it's the people that make Wynwood Wynwood. And I'm not trying to, be all, cheesy and all of that, but it really is true. I mean, you're seeing it here on this panel, and there's, 400 other commercial property and business owners that really make up the Wynwood community. And you have to remember, this is not a top-down community. This is not a place that has one single commercial property owner pulling all the strings and dictating where it's going. There is a lot of push and pull and ebb and flow and compromise that's consistently and continually, being thrown upon us in order to be able to move forward and innovate and, achieve that vision and continue to redefine it as we get closer. So if there's anything that I would say is that there is a very tight community here. A lot of people that are working behind the scenes. We just gave you a snippet of what it takes to keep this neighborhood going. I want to give a quick shout out to the Wynwood BID staff, our executive director, our street clean team, our security ambassadors, and all of our partners at the county, at the city, that really make the job look easy. And thanks to them, it is easier than it was in the beginning when we were doing it literally all by ourselves many years ago. So it does take a village, like Jessica said. But I think in Wynwood, that's the opportunity. If you're coming here to invest, if you're coming here to open a business, or you're coming here just simply to walk around, know that this is really a community effort that is reflective of what we want, what we hope we can achieve together. And Wynwood continues to be that canvas. And I'm really excited for the future. But I mean, that really is, I think, the secret sauce. I mean, the murals, the businesses, that's what you see, in the front, in the face, the facades. But behind that, really, that's what really makes us who we are.
I love it. Yeah, it's like the murals are the output of all of this other work that is happening. And I'm just like throwing in some startup jargon now, business jargon. Sven, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can just piggyback on that, Wynwood is a special place and it's close to a lot of our hearts and Miami's heart. And it's been a challenging 9 or 10 months for all of the small businesses in the neighborhood. Please come back and enjoy the neighborhood and fall in love with it again and remember why you fell in love with the first place. And the businesses are open and for business, and I'm sure everybody would love to see you again. That's it. Yeah.
Thank you. Jessica, go ahead.
We need you. We need you. To Sven's point, come back, fall in love, be an ambassador, invest. If you see something, say something, be like share your ideas. We want to be better. Be an ambassador, lead by example. And my dad always used to say, don't come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution. And so it's very easy to complain. And we have been inundated over the last couple of years with this inability to hear each other or speak to each other. And I think that, at least for me, my message is like, be kind to one another and support one another. Everybody needs a lot of support right now in lots of different ways. This has been, a really interesting journey, beautiful journey, challenging journey. And so be there, show up.
Thanks, Jessica. And now to address all the things that three of you said with the community, I saw some chatter here. What's the best way for folks to reach you or your organization? Whether submission of things, is it a website, Twitter handle, contact form, whatever that is, whatever is most appropriate. How can people kind of, now being inspired, get in touch?
Well, for the Wynwood community as a whole, for the bid, it's quite simple. You can go online to wynwoodmiami.com. You can also drop us an email at info@wynwoodbid.com. You can also DM us at Wynwood Miami on Instagram and on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter that way. We have a staff that is very nimble and responds rather quickly, and just about every email will never go unanswered. And you can also pick up the phone and call us, and that information is also on our website.
For me, you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Jessica Goldman Srebnick. You could see what I'm interested in, what I like. You can DM me. You can also email at ceo@goldmanproperties.com. And yeah.
Wow, you're giving out the whole email there. All right.
Yeah.
I
think Jessica's ready to hear from you folks.
Yeah. I think I have to do the same thing also, but please feel free to write on any of the socials, Coyo Taco or 1-800-LUCKY. My personal email is sven@305concepts.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. And I will add the just disclaimer here for folks who reach out. These people are incredibly busy and working on a lot of awesome projects like you hear here. You have heard today. So definitely just keep in touch. If an email gets unanswered, that's okay. We've got a lot going on here that they're building, but they're going to try their best to get back to you with some answers there. And again, I want to just double down and shout out that check out wynwoodmiami.com. That's where you can find all the updates, what's happening with COVID, with openings, with news, and all that in the community. And I want to thank our panelists so much for your time and attention and awesome answers. And I am so excited to get back out into the world and listen to awesome music and explore the neighborhood.
Safely.
Yes.
With your masks. Bring your masks.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
You guys.
Pleasure.
Thanks.